As the prophet of esports, I rely on trustworthy and meaningful data every day. Data from our research partner YouGov offers the most complete view of esports fans and gamers in the world, providing context to who they are, what they think, the brands they buy, and things they do. YouGov's connected insights and research services inform strategy at every level. If you're a team, a brand, agency, or rights holder, you should be talking with YouGov. Their partners measure and maximize ROI and are telling compelling stories with data. Visit yougov.com/gaming-esports to learn more.
I have 3 sort of celebrity/influencer stories, and I want to do them back to back here because I think they're kind of fun. And I just want to start, because we mentioned the doc. Let's start with the doc here again, coming back to him. And the headline here is Dr. Disrespect jabs Twitch in Twitter New Year's resolutions. So he put this post. I mean, New Year is a great sort of time for these kinds of, drama posts. But if you see here the tweet that he put up, I'll try and make this photo bigger. Yeah, there we go. Dr. Disrespect's 2022 resolutions. Okay, and I'll read them here. The first one, 100 million raised for Midnight Society. By a show of hands, who thinks he's going to raise 100 million for Midnight Society this year? Really? I do. Yeah, I think he does. I think he does. Just given the state of the industry, like I don't think that's that crazy of a number for a game development studio. You have to think they're going to have to hire 40 to 100 people, you would think, right? Like, minimum.
Midnight Society is his. I'll go with that. I thought Midnight Society. I thought it was a charity.
Me too.
No. That's that's the game development studio.
I think he's 100 million for that. Yes,
we're all idiots.
Number 2 in his list of resolutions, bourbon business. Who here thinks we see that in 2022? I
am so in for that. Sure. I hope that he does that.
you would buy Doc
finally
bourbon.
Become a Doc fan. Oh, I love bourbon.
Number 3, release music album. To me, that's like a no-brainer, right? He's already done music, and it's good music, Lindsay. You got to listen to it if you haven't already. I mean, he's made some bangers. The second last one here says DocCon 22. Well, I guess some doc-centered conference get together. Fan, no,
Wouldn't
no one wants to go to
actual,
DocCon.
Wouldn't it be funny if actual doctors showed up and we're like, man,
That's
we're on
true.
the game.
But the most interesting and the one I wanted to discuss here was the last one, and it's highlighted even in his tweet. It says unbanned and massive payment with nothing else. Just says unbanned and massive payment. Obviously, he's talking about Twitch here. Who here thinks we finally find out in 2022 why Doc was banned, or we see him unbanned, go back to Twitch, or not go back, but get a massive payment from Twitch? To call that out is ballsy. You got to admit, Jimmy. I don't know.
I think it was also in the Twitch font. It was hard to read. I think it was also in the Twitch font, actually, so it wasn't all that subtle. If that looked like that to you guys,
it was highlighted. It was like in pink and purple, where the other stuff was not.
Got it. Sorry, I was trying to lean in to get a better look. Lindsay made a good point earlier, right? Like the legal process is so slow. So for there to be that much traction here, there would have to be a settlement, is my guess. I don't know what the timetable looks like with his legal battle against Twitch, but and I'm also not privy to like what's in that agreement, what were in the terms, and what they are required to share and not. So a lot of this is just pure speculation. It's obvious it's a clear shot at Twitch. It's obvious he thinks he's owed a lot of money. Twitch obviously disagrees, and Twitch could bury him financially if they choose to. So I don't think Twitch needs to do anything but play a slow game and see how much it's really what this effort is worth to him. That's out of that long list of things that I don't really care for. I'm just like rolling my eyes here or there. It's smart, I guess. You want a bourbon. Sure, it worked for a lot of musicians and actors. Maybe it'll work here. But the music album, I know you guys like that. A lot of these things, I'm rolling my eyes. Like whatever you can do to expand your brand, I guess, more power to you. If anything, it'll be a nice case study for another streamer and the rest of the community at large to see really how strong, right, our influence and pull are in this world. But that last thing with Twitch, that's it's last on that list, not to make a point. I think it's last on that list because it's the least likely. That's how that's my take on it.
I mean, Jimmy, the thing is, like, this graphic looked produced, right? This is not
Yep.
this is not something he threw together, like, January 1st over, like, while he was sitting, having breakfast, and he just, typed out a list on Twitter on his
Sure.
phone, right? Like this was a produced graphic. If you're Doc's legal team, right? And we don't know anything about the situation. We don't know why he got banned still. We don't know who owes who what. We don't know any of that. But, like, why would you call this out? Does it make good business sense? Does it make good legal sense, you think, to call this out publicly, when clearly none of it is resolved?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think when you're doc size, you're still outsourcing your legal capability. And no matter how big you are, even if you have an in-house attorney, when you go to litigation, and I always make this reference to Silicon Valley, the in-house lawyer recommended to the team, like, oh, now we need to get you litigators, and it's another 2 million. And Richard and all the Silicon team was like, what? They thought the in-house lawyer was going to handle that for them. There's all these various specialties. People think a lawyer is a one-size-fits-all model when really they're highly specialized experts that rarely deviate from their own lanes and areas. So Doc is outsourcing. Since he's in litigation, he might have a general counsel or someone that runs his brand that he trusts. But for this lawsuit, he's definitely using a firm that specializes in litigation. And the more detached you are from your client, the harder they are to control. And Doc is already hard to control. He's a loudmouth. We know that. That's why he's in this situation in the first place. He's streaming on toilets and making all this crazy stuff that he does that makes him fun to watch. I'm not bashing him as a brand. He's entertaining. But as a business, that's hard to control. I don't think the lawsuit, the lawyers related to the lawsuit probably had any knowledge or help with this. Obviously, it's a graphic put together by his PR, by his brand managers, by everyone else that's involved. Obviously, a lot of these are not just, Babe Ruth calling shots. These are like things that are in the works behind the scenes that he's releasing. But the legal thing, it's not a cheap shot. It's just like, it's just a comment to make a comment. There's no strategy in saying that or in not saying that. If anything, the strategy is in not saying it, because the more you say, the worse it typically is for you. And when you get to litigation, they usually tell you to keep your mouth shut.
Well, yeah, that was my concern, right? Like, I'm surprised that he would open his mouth about this, given that
Possession is 9/10 of the law. I don't know how that applies here, but that's all I got.
What I'm saying, though,
more legal advice.
even though he opened his mouth, Paul, it's like he's just not saying anything. It's a comment about nothing.
That's
Salino and Barnes, the injury attorneys.
That's what I was going to point out too, is obviously there's something pretty probably intricate or complicated going on, because if it wasn't maybe as high level or as intense as it was, then I think the doc would be making a lot more comments and have a lot more exciting commentary. And I do think that even though this is obvious, like, we're very clear on what he's talking about and what he means by this, it is interesting how sort of veiled it still all is, and how little he's really said, which does point to this being a long process and potentially very complicated case of things, for someone who is so active in the community to stay as silent as he has, and only to make kind of thinly veiled jokes.
Did you guys see the article? And this might be the next article you're pulling out, Paul, so I don't know. But where Doc said that if he had gone to Mixer with Shroud and Ninja, it would have worked.
No.
Did you guys see that comment?
No.
Didn't.
Recently?
I think it was this week. I'll try to pull it up.
But there's a great point to be made, which is one of the questions we asked John Pan on the podcast was why he thinks Mixer failed. Just because, he's the head of operations and strategy at Facebook Gaming. Obviously, I think he had great insight into why Mixer failed. So definitely worth a listen just for his answer on that. Chris says Doc has been reading the Hype Handbook by Michael Shine. # not an ad. Chris, I'm curious. I haven't read it. Is it good? And if he's following that playbook, that makes a lot of sense.